you all so much for having me here. I do have a confession to make. I cannot fry chicken for the life of me. I mean, I have tried, I followed all the recipes, I've watched all of the YouTube videos, I've gotten all the tips from the aunties, and still my fried chicken just never turns out right. Either it's perfect on the outside and raw on the inside, or it's cooked throughout, but it looks like it lost a fight. And you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? But see, frying chicken is a rite of passage in the African American community. It's one of those skills that's passed down generation to generation, but no one ever taught me how to do it. And if you mess it up, trust me, they will not let you forget about this. Well, one day I heard about this magical machine called the air fryer. How many people have an air fryer? My people, yes. So people swore that this magical machine could make perfectly crispy food without all of the grease, without all of the mess. And naturally, I was skeptical about this because how can this countertop gadget do something that I can't even do, you know? And my husband was even more skeptical. He loves fried chicken, and he just refused to believe that this could be accomplished any other way. Well, during the pandemic, we needed something adventurous to do, right? You've all been there. So we finally bought an air fryer, the Ninja AF 101. I seasoned my chicken, I placed it into this magical machine, I hit a couple of buttons, and it worked. Crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside, and I didn't even have to babysit it. I was shocked, like, where has this been all of my life? From that moment on, I became an air fryer ambassador. I told everyone who would listen about this magical machine that could fry chicken without oil. Family, friends, even strangers online. I'm sure some of you have bought air fryers because you follow me on social media and you've seen my evangelism. We even got shirts made. The front says, Angie's tweets made us do it. I don't get paid for this. I just genuinely love what air fryers enabled for me. I'm finally able to fry chicken. Clap. You ever think back to how much cooking has evolved? Like, imagine being one of the first humans trying to figure out how to cook. No stoves, no microwaves, just fire and sticks and a whole lot of trial and error. And for most of human history, cooking was all about open flames. You had to chop wood, you had to build fire, you had to wait for it to get to the right temperature, and then you had to constantly tend to that food so that it doesn't burn and turn into charcoal. And then we got stoves, which made it easier to control the heat. Refrigerators changed everything because now instead of hunting and needing to buy fresh food every single day, people could store these ingredients and they could cook when they actually feel like it. So we started moving from survival cooking to cooking for enjoyment. And then in the 60s, we saw microwaves. This also was a game changer. This made life so much easier, right? You could heat up your leftovers, you could pop popcorn without a stove top, and if you were a kid in the 90s, you definitely survived on some microwave meals. And now we have the air fryers, we have sous vide machines, smart ovens, you name it. And cooking has become more precise, more efficient, and honestly, more fun. You can throw some food in an air fryer, press a button, it comes out perfect. You could sous vide a steak for hours and it'll be cooked exactly how you want it. So we're automating more and we're worrying less about the mechanics of cooking. Now, those who cook have had to adapt to these new tools and these new techniques over the decades. And a great chef doesn't say, oh, I only cook on an open flame because that's the real way to do it. No, they use the best tools available to get the best results. If a sous vide machine is going to give them perfectly cooked meat every time, why not use it? If an air fryer is going to help them get that crispy texture without drowning the food in oil, it's a no-brainer. So tools don't replace skill, they enhance it. The best chefs, they know that these new tools are not a threat to them. They see them as an opportunity. That's why you'll see Michelin star restaurants using things like liquid nitrogen for desserts, or AI-driven ovens for that precision baking, or molecular gastronomy techniques to turn ordinary ingredients into something that's mind-blowing. They master the tools and then they push their craft further. Notice a pattern? Every new era of cooking was about reducing effort while improving results. We moved from spending hours managing fire to pressing buttons and letting technology do the hard work. And that's exactly what's happening in automation and AI. Just like my journey with the air fryer, you start out skeptical, right? You think, this can't possibly do what I do. But then you try it. You see it working, and the next thing you know, you're telling everybody about it. Automation engineers are like great chefs. We use our skills, our experience, our tools to create amazing things. And new technology doesn't make us obsolete. It makes us better. So, whether you love it or hate it, we have indeed entered the age of generative AI. And I can tell you the conversations that I'm hearing today, I've actually heard them before, right? Oh, this new tech is going to replace us. Oh, it's too powerful. Oh, why even bother learning automation if the AI is just going to do it for us? Sound familiar? It should, because every time new technology emerges, there's a new wave of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Remember when Selenium first started gaining traction? There were manual testers who swore automation was going to make them irrelevant. But think about it. The ones that embraced it, those are the ones that became the automation engineers. Those are the ones that became the test architects, the DevOps pros. The same thing happened with CI/CD, with cloud computing, and now with AI. Every major shift creates two types of people: those who adapt and those who panic. But here's the thing. As automation engineers, we don't have to just follow the script, pun intended. We can actually push the boundaries of what our tools can do. We can automate more than just test cases, and many of you already have done this. Maybe you've used Selenium to auto-generate reports or even automate tedious, repetitive tasks for your team. Anybody done something like that before? Not enough of you. So, is AI going to replace automation engineers? Yes, if you let it. If you refuse to learn, if you refuse to evolve, if you just sit back thinking that this is a fad that's going to pass and I'm just going to wait for things to go back to being the same, then yeah, you might have a problem. But if you're the kind of engineer who sees a new tool and you think, how can I use this to make my job better? Then you're not going anywhere. You're actually becoming more valuable. Because the reality is, AI is not here to replace us or our wonderful tools like Selenium and Appium. Actually, it works with them. Just like great chefs use new cooking techniques, automation engineers can use AI to enhance what we do. So instead of panicking, let's start thinking, how can we combine our expertise with AI to push the limits of automation? One way we can do this is by exploring new automation tools like AI agents. So AI agents, they have the same capabilities of the AI chatbots that you may have used, like ChatGPT, for example. But they can also take action on your behalf. They can reason, they can make decisions, they can adapt based on context. So instead of needing to tell them every single step to take, you give them a goal and they figure out how to achieve it. So what kinds of things can AI agents automate? We're seeing them used for all sorts of tasks like data collection, auto-filling out complex forms, navigating workflows across different applications, even writing and running code. And the coolest part is that they can adapt and they can learn as they go. So the AI agent that I'm working on right now is called codename Goose. And it's an open source agent that runs locally on your machine. And it was specifically designed to automate tasks. And guess what? When I ask it to automate anything browser related, I have it use Selenium to do so. So what I have just done is given my beloved Selenium tool AI superpowers. I want you to take a second and just think about what this means. The tool that you already know, Selenium, can now be a part of an AI flow that automates all sorts of things. You don't have to limit yourself to just tests. You can build intelligent automation that can interact with the web in ways that we've never really had time to explore before. You might have even thought about it, but you just didn't have the time to do it. And we're just scratching the surface. This is about to get really good. I want y'all to stay with me. So AI agents, they need a way to interact with applications, and the browser is a huge part of that. That's why Selenium is still a critical tool. It's just being used in new ways. But here's the thing, AI agents like Goose, they don't just use one tool. Goose is extensible and can connect multiple tools together. And that's where we really see a game changer. So the way that the AI agent is able to do this is via MCP. I've heard that phrase quite a bit at this conference. That makes my heart glad. If you've been following me, you've been hearing me scream about it. I've been excited about it since it launched in November. How many people know what MCP is? Okay, for those who don't, I got you. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And it's an open standard that allows AI agents to connect to our tools, our systems, our data. What the AI agent connects to is called an MCP server. And that server is essentially just a wrapper around an API, which makes it easier for the AI agent to interact with. So Goose and any AI agent that adheres to MCP can connect to all sorts of data and systems just by using the MCP server for those things. This means instead of writing a custom integration for every single API that you want to use, you can plug into an MCP and boom, you've got access to its functionality in a way that's easier for the AIs to interact with. So there's MCP servers for all sorts of things, databases, cloud services, internal tools, you name it. And guess what? There's even one for Selenium. That's right. There's an MCP server for Selenium, and I created it just for you. This means that AI agents can interact with Selenium just like they would any other API, and this is making browser automation more accessible than ever. So instead of writing out our long scripts, users can describe what they want to do in natural language, and the AI figures out how to use Selenium to make that happen. So here's an example where I'm asking Goose to fill out a form on the Heroku site with some generic test data. Notice I never mentioned the URL or how to find any of the elements. Goose figures it out itself, and it uses Selenium to get the job done. So it's evaluating the DOM, determine how to use Selenium to interact with the elements, and also figures out the context so that the test data makes sense. Notice the call here are Selenium methods like send keys, click elements, things like that, right? And then it's also figured out how to use the best locator strategy on its own. So it used ID when possible and CSS as a backup strategy. And then it also lets me know when everything is done and everything that it did. So it's telling me I was able to handle text inputs, radio buttons, check boxes, drop downs, buttons, date picker, all of that. Y'all not impressed? You don't got to clap. I was kidding. That was slick, but this is why this is huge. So MCP servers make it easier for anyone to use Selenium. You don't necessarily have to master the WebDriver API. You don't even need to be a coder. You can just express what you want to do in natural language, and the AI agent will handle the details. Think about that. So instead of worrying about syntax and method calls, users can just say things like, extract all of the product names from this page. And the AI agent can either do the action or translate that into Selenium code. In fact, let's go ahead and ask Goose to turn this into Selenium code. And I'll indicate here that I want to do it in Java, and I want to use the page object model pattern. So Goose is creating the necessary Java files for me, but it goes a step further. I didn't even ask it for this. It's making me a pom.xml file for my dependencies, added test.ng so that I can run my assertions. So it anticipated my needs here. I'm going to also go ahead and ask it, can you open this up in IntelliJ? I want to see the code that it wrote. So now it's controlling my computer as well. It's not limited to just the IDE. So we open up IntelliJ, and then you see here, it created it just like I would. I have my page object classes, my test classes. In this test class, this looked like I wrote it, child. Look at that. It has my test method. It's using page object classes. It has all of my identifiers, locators, just like I would have done it. Beautiful. Now, this took 1 minute and 15 seconds. And Goose created an entire automation project for me, structured just the way that I wanted, completed with the dependencies I needed to run the test. And I've done workshops where I teach people how to do this sort of thing. And it's a full day workshop where we're digging through the DOM and we're like finding all the elements. Manoj is smiling. He's been there too, right? In 1 minute, I have something done. But wait, I don't want you to get too excited, right? Let's look at the code. We're going to check the work. We're not just going to trust the AI blindly. Let's see what it's actually done. So I'm going to pull up IntelliJ here. All right. So this is the code here. Can y'all see? Yep. All right. So this is my, okay, they say I'm not online. This is my, my page object class that Goose created for me. So what do y'all think? Does it look okay? Anything you would change? The comments, you don't want no comments? Okay. I agree. I don't like this fill form method and like that being the only method. Anybody can tell me why? Enter the text 3 times. So let's look at this one. So I think this is just, yeah, Goose just basically made a little kind of convenience method here. I think that part is okay. Anybody else? Should take an object, oh, instead of all of these attributes. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, this one you don't like this so much? I'm not so much a fan either. But I don't know. I didn't look at the DOM. I'll tell you why I don't like it. Because I have experience in writing automation, I know that this is not going to be my only test. I'm going to want to write more tests, and now everything is in this fill form method, and everything is there. What if I want to skip something? What if I don't want to select a date, or I'm doing error cases where a required field is missing, and I don't want that? I can't use this method to do so. So I would want this more granular. Maybe you can leave this big method, but I would want little smaller methods as well that I can chain together to kind of write the test that I want. So I can do this myself. There's about 10 actions here, which means I'll break this up into 10 methods, or I can just kind of ask Goose to do it. Let's see. So this says, Goose, you're in my project for Selenium Test Suite, which is in IntelliJ. So I'm giving it a bit of context. And I say, in this form page class, you created a fill form method. It's great. I got to compliment it, you know. But I'm going to want to create some future tests, so I need each of these calls to be in their own methods. So let's keep this method, but I also want the modular, smaller methods. Can you update this file? I'm going to hit enter. Let's see if Goose can handle that for us. I'm going to close this big method to see. So I am on a branch. I want to say that. I never just like kind of that vibe code in there talking about. I don't do that. So I have created a new branch just in case Goose like messes up my form or my file. I can always just kind of throw the branch away. I don't have to commit it. Am I on? I might not be on the internet. I don't need to be on the internet, but I'm using a powerful LLM sponsored by my company Block. And for that, I need to go through the thingy. Let me see. Okay, it might have came up. But what? Oh, okay, yeah. See, it's saying, girl, you better get on this VPN. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this. But what this would do if I was connected to the VPN is break this method up for me. Again, I know how to do this. I can do it myself, but Goose could probably do it for me in a couple of seconds, and I could check the work, right? So up to you how you want to go about doing this. All right, I'm going to go back to the slides. Let's see, my friend taught me how to do it. Okay, look at me, quick learner. Okay, but what I wanted you to take away from that is not that, you know, I was able to use AI to do it. Like, that's great and everything. With the iterations and everything, let's say it took more than 1 minute. Maybe it took 5 minutes to get the whole thing how I want it. But still, that's pretty good, creating a test framework from scratch in 5 minutes. If I had done this by hand, it would have taken me this entire keynote to do so, maybe even longer as I'm digging through the DOM. But I was still very much so in control, yes? I directed the agent on what I wanted done. I reviewed the work. I used my expertise to spot what could be improved, and then made sure that that got done. So don't blindly trust this stuff, but it can help you move a lot faster. Hopefully now you believe me just a little bit more that AI isn't here to replace browser automation. In fact, quite the contrary, it makes it easier. If you're new to Selenium, this makes it way more approachable than before. If you're an expert, you can use AI agents and MCPs to work faster and automate even more. So I want you to kind of kick that thought to the curb about AI taking over, and I want you to recognize that you now have new powerful ways to use the tools that you already know. So my question to you now becomes, what else can you accomplish with all of this free time that you have? If it takes you max of 5 minutes to whip up a whole automation framework, what are you doing with the other 7 hours and 55 minutes of your day? Let's get to that. So we've looked at how automation has evolved. We've looked at how AI agents give us a new set of tools to work with. Now, I could show you demo after demo. I love doing this stuff, right? And I play with, there's all like over 3,000 MCP servers right now. So I'm like a kid in a candy store when I go to the sites, and I'm just plugging in all sorts of things and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But what I really want to do is leave you with something useful, something that you can go back to work with and you can actually try yourself. So I made a little cookbook, which is a collection of 10 AI-enabled test automation recipes that you can implement right now. You can go back to work. You can do this on Monday. Each one of them is designed to tackle a real task that you probably had sitting on your backlog forever. How many of you have been to Selenium Conf before? I always leave Selenium Conf with ideas that I never get to try. So now you might be able to do that. The thing is, this entire collection, it goes fast. You can do all of this in like a month, really. You could build yourself a 4-week plan where you do 1 or 2 of these a week. Choose a couple of recipes, knock them out. And if you're feeling spicy, you can get AI to build your plan for you too. Y'all ready to see the cookbook? Okay. As I go through the recipe, feel free to take photos, but I'm also going to make the slides available after the talk, so you'll have them handy when you go to work, okay? All right. So we all know that tech debt piles up. We never have time to address it. Before you know it, you're 3 major versions behind. Your test runner is no longer supported. Your team has moved on to an entirely different language. This recipe can help you clean house. So whether you're upgrading to Selenium 4 finally, please tell me y'all are on Selenium 4. Yes? Okay. All right. They tell me Selenium 5 is coming, maybe by Christmas. But hold this one till then, maybe. If you want to switch your test runner, maybe you want to go from testing G to JUnit, or maybe you want to upgrade from JUnit 4 to 5, something like that. Your Java LTS, you know, we're cranking those out now. You might want to update that. Change your whole script from Java to JavaScript, something like that. This recipe can help you do this. So this includes updating code, managing dependencies, validating changes, and opening pull requests. So the way I've structured these recipes, you see the ingredients on the left. These are the MCP servers that you can use. So for this one, I'm recommending either a file system MCP that can manipulate your files locally, or an IDE MCP. So what I used in the example was a JetBrains MCP. So this was actually created by JetBrains, and this allows agents to interact with their IDEs. So I have that plugged in. I have a GitHub MCP plugged in, and the Selenium MCP plugged in. And so with this, you want to determine what you want to do. Be as explicit as you possibly can with the AI agent to let them know what you actually want. And then you're also, for the GitHub one, you're going to need an access token. So they have these really nice personal access tokens that are very granular, so you can specify like which repos you want the AI to have access to versus your entire org. You can also say like what rights it has. So you can say, oh, I only want it to be able to read things, or, oh yeah, sure, they can make pull requests or whatever, okay? So this next one, maybe someone on your team has been raving about like screenplay pattern, or you saw a blog post and you thought, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I've heard about screenplay pattern at least 3 times at this very conference, and I go, oh yeah, I want to try that out, and have never gotten around to actually doing it. You look at your automation suite, it's built on page object model, and you're like, I don't have time to refactor this in this economy, child. So with an AI agent, you can actually get this done in a couple of hours, right? 1 or 2 hours. The agent can analyze your existing page object model structure. It can reorganize the logic into screenplay concepts like actors and tasks and interactions. And then you can do it right there in your IDE, or you can say, go ahead, make a pull request. What you could even do is fork this, and basically, since it's only going to take you an hour or 2, do it in screenplay pattern. And now you have 2 that your team can compare. You can look at, and you can see which one you actually like the best, and you all can have a conversation about it. If you decide not to use screenplay pattern, throw it away. It only took 2 hours to do. It's not like 3 months of work, right? So you're no longer so married and committed to things. You can just try out stuff and see how it goes. Now, we all know test code can get a little crusty, especially when you're moving fast or you're inheriting someone else's framework. Of course, clean, readable code makes life easier. You can debug better, you can onboard smoother. You're going to thank yourself later, right? So this recipe actually lets your AI agent go through your test suite and then apply the coding principles that you care about. So you want to rename variables for clarity. You want to break up those big methods like I just did into smaller ones. You want to remove duplication, whatever you care about. Now, you don't have to specify the clean coding patterns. You can say, just make my code cleaner, but you don't know what that means. And y'all might have 2 different definitions of what that means. So the more details that you can provide, the better. If your team has like conventions written down, you can say, here's my team's conventions. Go make my code better like this. Or you can take one file and do it yourself, and then give the agent this as a gold standard to say, I want all of my suite to look this clean. And they're really good at picking up patterns and reapplying them, so this could be a good one. Okay, test IDs. How many of y'all got test IDs? Not a lot. I'm like you. Heard about this several times at Selenium conferences, never got around to doing it, right? So the IDs that we're using now, the locators that we're using now, like ID, even ID, which is great, ID, CSS selectors, we're overloading the purpose of those things. They are not intended for test automation. They're intended for like styling those elements or maybe manipulating the DOM in real time, not tests. So it would be great to actually have an attribute on these elements, like a test ID, that we know won't change because it's just for us. But the idea of like going through the code base and like adding these IDs, too much. Let the AI agent do it. So you can give it access to your front-end code as well as your automation suite. It can map, okay, this page object that you have here with these locators, yeah, there it is there. Let me add a test ID, let me change your test, and boom, you have all of this done in like an hour. Nice. All right. So this one is an interesting one. There was a talk earlier today about this. I was talking to Simon about this in the break room. A lot of us want to do things like run the specific relevant tests on a PR versus our entire suite so that we have a quick build, right? So this recipe can help your AI agent analyze the code changes in a pull request, figure out which tests actually matter, and then only run those, right? And you can do this however you want. You're the architect. Figure out how you want to do this. Simon, what's the name of your project that does something like this? What, Target Terminator? Target Determinator. You could use something like that. Or is the speaker who gave a talk on this here? Yes? Okay. Some of the techniques from that talk, whatever you want to do, you're in charge. But you tell the agent, go do the work. I don't feel like doing it. All right? Test triage. I hate triage and tests. I really do. I'm always in the middle of something else that's more important. I have to stop what I'm doing and figure out like why these tests failed. Is it a real bug? Did the UI just change? Is my test flaky? Well, this recipe can automate that triage. So an agent can investigate the failure, figure out what's actually going on, and respond accordingly. And let me tell y'all, these are not like theoretical things. My entire company is using Goose, the AI agent, and they're doing stuff like this. Like our test teams are doing things like this and saving a whole bunch of time. So if the test is outdated, it can update the script, rerun it, make sure it works. If it works, commit the fix. If it's actually a bug, it could create a GitHub issue with that context, complete with the log files and a nice little report about why it's failing. And then it can even alert your team in Slack. Yes, there is a Slack MCP, so I use that one too. Throw that in the mix if you want to have some fun, freak out everybody. This is one of those tasks that like eats up a lot of your time, but it doesn't require like a lot of creativity from you. So it's a great one to kind of hands off to the agents. All right, BiDi. I couldn't go without putting a slide about BiDi, right? So your test might be green, but that doesn't mean like there's not all of this stuff happening under the covers. You could have JavaScript errors silently failing in the background. You can't figure out like why your tests are actually flaky. Your assertions are not catching these things. With the WebDriver BiDi protocol in Selenium 4, your agent can actually access these browser logs during the test run, and it can analyze what's going on and pull out like these meaningful errors. And so this one, with this recipe, it'll go ahead and report those things and help you find like, basically just like have deeper layer of confidence in your test runs. Now, you might have slow, inconsistent tests. You might have product areas that are causing regular failures. This recipe is called Analyze Weak Areas. This one helps your agent dig into your test history. So you can point it at like your builds and all the logs from your builds, say for the last 30 days or something like that. And it can spot which tests are flaky, which ones break often, which parts of your product seem most unstable. It can even generate a summary, open up issues for folks to review. So instead of reacting to the failures as they happen, you can actually get ahead of them, right? So it's like going from treating the symptoms to like running a full diagnosis. All right, this one might be a little spicy for y'all. Imagine this. Someone opens up a pull request, and before you even get to it, your AI agent has already reviewed the code diff and written some relevant tests and submitted it to that same PR. You like that or you hate that? Okay, let me say more. So this one shows how your agent can actually step into your CI/CD flow and be like a coding collaborator here. So we all know how difficult it is to get automated UI tests in a sprint, right? So the developer has taken forever to develop the feature. You now have 2 days to write more code than they wrote to actually, I see the heads nodding, to actually write the test. It's almost impossible, right? And we're killing ourselves trying to do it. You can set something like this up. When they put their PR, boom, some code is written. Again, we don't blindly trust it. It's added to the PR. It can even tag you as a reviewer, and then you can go in, and a lot of the heavy lifting is already done. You're still going to probably want to tweak it. You're going to want to take the comments out. You know what I mean? You're going to want to fix it, break it up, make it more modular. But at least it's done a lot of the heavy lifting for you. All right, last one. We spend a bunch of time writing tests for flows that we think are important, but the users might not follow those same journeys, right? So this recipe helps your agent mine analytics data, find the most common user paths, and then turn those real-world scenarios into automated tests. So it's not guesswork. It's not coverage for coverage's sake. This is like test automation that's actually rooted in reality, making sure like your product works the way your customers actually use it. Like just think about you telling your boss like, oh yeah, I went through the customer logs and I saw some flows that we didn't have captured, and yeah, I got those done in like an hour. Yeah, you know, doesn't that sound good? So you don't need to sift through the dashboards. You don't need to like read through the log files. Just connect it to your analytics tool. Hopefully, there's probably an MCP server for it. If there's not, you can create it. Anybody can create an MCP server, right? Give the agent a couple of guidelines on like what you care about and what it should maybe look for, and then let it build tests that reflect how people actually interact with your app. Okay, so we've covered a lot, from flaky locators to full suite migrations, from JavaScript error detection to test generation out of thin air. I know it's a lot. It's a shift, but it's not one to be afraid of. The key thing to remember is that you're not being replaced, you're being upgraded. These tools, they don't take away any of the value that you bring. They actually amplify it, right? They take the tedious parts off of your plate so that you can focus on the strategy, the creativity, the engineering, like getting to all of those big ideas that you have on your backlog, right? And I gotta say, I'm like so excited right now. This is probably the most excited that I've ever been in my career. And that's because for the first time, I feel like I can dream bigger. Like I can automate more, I can move faster, I can build better, all of it, right? With these new AI powers in our tool belt, there's no ceiling anymore. It's just possibility. So hopefully you are excited too. And as we end the day, I want you to think about how you can apply some of the things that you've learned today. You're going to learn a whole lot more tomorrow. Let these talks inspire you, you know, let them challenge you. And when you get back to work next week, open the cookbook. Thank you.